What do you do if you live in a cold country and you don't have access to sunlight? I lived in Canada for 15 years, so I am very familiar with the brutal, unforgiving, ruthless, heartless winters of the north. So, luckily for me, I don't want to rub it in your faces. I don't have to endure that anymore. But I would lie to you if I told you I didn't learn a great deal about a great deal of things from living in one of the coldest places in the world for the last 15 years. So, you don't have access to sunshine. I know in Canada, we basically say goodbye to the sun from mid-October all the way to April. So we're talking mid-April. So we're talking, let's say, mid-November, mid-December, mid-January, mid-February, mid-March. 6 months. Basically, essentially, you say goodbye to the sunshine for, about 6 months or so. And not only do you say goodbye to the sun, you say goodbye to being, I suppose, naked in the elements as such, because it's too cold, unless you're going to do some form of cold exposure and pull a Wim Hof, which requires quite a bit of practice. So you could do that. I suppose you could still have direct contact with the elements. However, that's going to be difficult for most of us, and that is indeed difficult. And so, in other words, your contact with the elements, your contact with the life force through the elements is limited in winters. And not having the sun there for 6 months or so, that alone is really difficult on the human psyche. It's really quite difficult. I talk a lot about the sun and its role, and it is the life-giving force on the planet. It is the god of the solar system. So not having the god of the solar system on your side for half the year can be quite disheartening and difficult, and hence why people experience heightened levels of depression and anxiety in those northern countries in the winter. And that's why suicide rates increase in like Sweden and those countries, and anxiety rates and depression rates increase in the winter months. It's no surprise. It's the other thing is being indoors all the time. It's like you're going from one box to another, right? You're going from the car box to the bus box to the school box. You're just kind of you walk out of the door, and all you're concerned with is getting to the next warm indoor spot available. Okay, so you could obviously dress up a lot in jackets and stuff and go out to nature, but again, you're not going to be able to spend too long, again, unless you're doing some form of cold exposure purposefully, which I recommend you do. If you're living somewhere cold, you might as well do that. I did that for quite some time, and it just kind of gets you through the winter, and it develops certain skills in you. So definitely still go out and spend some time in nature. I always did that regardless. Maybe it won't be to the extended levels of, say, being out in nature for many, many hours, but nevertheless, you still want to do that. However, the conclusion is, it's tough. It's tough, okay? And you could very easily feel the energy depletion in you. And the other thing is your environment. Everybody's sort of depressed, and the energy is lower, right? And so, you're going to be affected by that too. So, what do you do about that? What did I do when I was there to keep the spirits up? Because I certainly did a pretty good job at keeping the spirits up for the last at least 5 years or so. And the first thing, my friends, take an ice cold shower every single morning. You don't have the sun available to you right now. You don't have the, elements, the earth, being barefoot in the earth for prolonged periods, etc., etc. Look for other energy sources. The force of the cold is absolutely powerful, and I cannot tell you enough how fond I am of taking cold showers, of discovering the power of cold showers and taking them. And I took them all the way until I left Canada. Okay, right here we don't really have them in Thailand. Plus, you don't really need them because you have all these other energy sources around you that you could plug into, primarily the beautiful sunshine. So the fresh air, constantly being in open air and outside. So you don't really need them here. You don't really even think about it, and they're not even available to begin with. And why would I go and buy ice packs and set the whole thing up? It's just too much of a hassle in a place where you have so much access to the life force, so much access to different energy sources. But if you live in somewhere cold, take an ice cold shower every morning. Mornings, okay? Mornings, because you want to start the day and you really want to oxygenate yourself and you really want to feel good. It's very, very easy to get up in the middle of a winter day, a cold day, and just feel absolutely sorry for yourself, sorry for the rest of the world, and get in a depressive episode. It's so easy. It's so easy. But if you keep your cold showers every morning, that right there is your insurance policy to at least be in tolerance of the difficult conditions of winters. Okay, I guarantee you, if you take a cold shower every morning, you ain't getting depressed. No matter how rough it gets, no matter how cold and how really just fed up you are because you haven't seen the sun for the last 10 days and you're constantly in jackets and it's just been a rough winter. No matter what, if you take your cold shower every morning, you're not going to feel depressed about it. You're not going to feel depressed, period. You cannot get depressed if you're taking a cold shower. And I'm talking ice cold, okay? Just pure cold. You cannot get depressed. You cannot get depressed. You will tolerate the winter. You will find the place inside of you that's gonna say, well, it's all right. You'll also find the place inside of you that's going to perhaps look at the whole situation of being in winters as an opportunity to cultivate energy in other ways. Because if you are in winter and you don't have access to the sun, you really don't have access to the elements, and you really are not in open air and open, getting the fresh air, there are other ways to access the life force, because the life force is all around us all the time. And so take it as an opportunity to deepen your meditation, because if you deepen your meditation, you could get the energy, the prana, the chi, the life force, cosmic love, dark matter, dark energy, the void, the Tao. You could have access to that infinite energy just via meditation alone. And you could absolutely be a very vibrant person living somewhere cold, being in the middle of winter. You could absolutely do that. Okay? I know of one breatharian who actually became a breatharian in one of the northern states in America, which is just as cold as Canada. So it is possible. It is possible, okay? Take it as an opportunity to deepen your meditation. Winters are very introspective, simply because there isn't anything else to do, right? There isn't much extroversion going on. There isn't much to do. Even when you go to nature, it's a very quiet scene. Very quiet scene, very introspective. I had some of the best times in winters, like nature-wise, some of the best psychedelic trips in the heart of winter, right? So, you could definitely, certainly take advantage of that. So, number one, make sure you're taking a cold shower every morning, a minimum of 5 minutes of constant exposure. to get the full benefits, between 5 and 10 minutes. Okay, make sure you do that. Like I said, that's your insurance policy, that's your antidepressant for the winter. Okay, you will be able to tolerate the winters, you will be able to even have a sense of humor about it, you will be able to find some contentment and some peace despite the harshness of the winter. So that is a non-negotiable. That is an absolute non-negotiable as far as I'm concerned if you're living somewhere cold. Take advantage of this powerful way of charging up the energy centers, of opening up the energy centers, and take them. Take them, you'll feel really good. You will have an absolutely incredible health, even without the exposure to the sun, even without all these other things. You'll have very good health. You'll be sharp. You'll be sharp. And yeah, number 2, meditate. Deepen your meditations. Spend more time meditating. Okay, spend more time meditating and turn your room into a sanctuary, since you're gonna spend a good deal of time in your room since it's so cold, right? You're gonna spend a great deal of time in your room, so make it a sanctuary. Turn it into a sanctuary. Get some plants in there, get some flowers, get some incense, right? Get some, posters and stuff of, things that sort of remind you of, I don't know, whatever, your inner being or something. But turn your room into a sanctuary, turn your apartment into a sanctuary, turn your house into a sanctuary. Okay, it's gonna be a place you're gonna spend a lot of time in. You're gonna spend most of your time in, most likely, more than likely, right? You're gonna spend a great deal of time in there. So yeah, turn it into a sanctuary so that when you walk into your room, when you walk into your apartment, you instantaneously feel good. Okay? And number 3, look into the Wim Hof method and look into increasing your cold exposure. This is something I did for quite some time, ever since I discovered Wim Hof. I didn't do it last year because I was just so fed up with winters and I was already ready to go to Thailand. But the winters prior to that, I was doing a lot of that, the cold exposure. I'd go out and sort of take off my shirt and it would be really cold, like below freezing, and I'd do the Wim Hof breathing, and I'd even take off my shoes and put them in snow and everything, and I had my fun. I really, for a few years in there, I had my fun. I would go for runs, again in below freezing temperatures. I'd go for runs, and I had my fun there. I really looked at the winters whenever they approached with awe, as a challenge, to develop certain skills in me, whether they were physical skills or mental skills, right? And that cold shower was a constant in the last 4 years that I lived in Canada, 4 years or so. That was a constant. No matter what was going on in my life, that was a constant. That was something I did every single morning, right? And take the opportunity to appreciate the contrast also, because this is the time where you have the opportunity to appreciate what the contrast shows you, okay? Because you're living in the midst of the contrast. I don't really get to experience that contrast anymore, okay? But I could deliberately here just apply appreciation and gratitude on a daily basis to be reminded of the nature of life. But if you are living in winters, you're living in the midst of contrast. So take the opportunity to understand the world of duality. Take the opportunity to understand that you need the cold to appreciate the hot. Take the opportunity to understand the dualistic nature of creation, the necessity of that other element, that coldness, that bitterness, that suffering, in order for us to really fully come to grasp and appreciate the lighter element of creation, right? The warmth, the everything associated with that. And I'll tell you, like, if you decide in the future to go and live somewhere warm, you will be happier than anyone else around you. Because I still do remind myself, I go check the weather from time to time in Canada, see how it is there. And then I do remind myself that, hey, look, remember 15 years of that coldness? How lucky are you right now to be experiencing beautiful weather all year round? So I'm actually quite mindful and appreciative. 15 years will teach you a lot, and 15 years taught me a lot, and I can't just forget 15 years. So now here I am in October, and it's my first October in November now. We entered November. It's my first November in 15 years where I am not freezing my ass off, right? And I'm very, very appreciative of it. That I haven't missed up on that. I haven't simply gotten used to it in the way it is, and no, I remember. I remember 15 Novembers in a row. I remember. I'm not gonna forget it anytime soon, right? It's a constant reminder. So that contrast that I deeply experienced for such a long time is making me appreciate this now. Really, like really, I am very appreciative of my scene now, right? I really am. And I'm mindful enough that I'm making this video because I understand that this is where I'm usually in your situation, in your shoes right now. So in the future, even when you move on, here comes a regular guest appearance. But yeah, in the future, if you decide to move on somewhere warmer, you'll be very appreciative. I'll tell you, the locals here, they don't appreciate this enough because that's all they know. You understand? They don't. That's all. Hey, Lucy. Hello, Lucy. Hello, Lucy. Hey, how are you? How are you? You're very energetic. Always running around. Always doing something. Lucy, Lucy, Lucy. Lucy, Lucy, Lucy. Okay, so yeah, like I said, you will be very appreciative. Like I said, I was saying about the locals, they don't appreciate it enough. Why? Because that's all they know. If you're born in beautiful places like this, and you just have access to sun all year round, you're not really going to appreciate it. Like, you didn't have the contrast to appreciate the fact that you're living in this heaven. In fact, many locals here have these, are starting to develop, especially the younger generation, are starting to develop, that whole, I want to go live in a city and be in an apartment, and, that whole American dream thing. So actually, a lot of them don't even appreciate it, and they're actually trying to look for a way out, if anything. Whereas somebody like me and the other people here that also have had something, a similar experience, they come here and you just see it. Like, every day they're looking around. Like, I'm looking around every day. I'm like, wow, I can't believe I'm here. Like, because I really experienced the other contrast too. I experienced the opposite of it. And every day I'm just like, wow, sunshine. Wow, so beautiful. Oh, wow, it's nature. Wow, open air, fresh air every day. Wow, so beautiful. So the contrast is necessary. It really heightens the experience also. When you do experience the opposite of it, it really heightens it for you. It really deepens your gratitude and deepens your experience and your appreciation. So take advantage of the winters, and they can be really great teachers. I really am, again, very fond of cold showers beyond anything that I could describe. And anybody who's watched me since the fitness days, you know that. You know how much of a preacher for the cold I was. And at some point I was known as the cold shower guy. I even made shirts and stuff and sold them about cold showers. So yeah. Thank you to all the Patreons for your continuous, constant support. And thank you to everybody who donated via PayPal as well. Love you guys. I love all of yous. And Instagram, Saeed Mobayed. And until next time, may the force be with you.